they ended up hiring Dan Quinn as the head coach. How you feel about that?
I don't care if you got Mahomes or Daniel Jones. Your quarterback needs some weapons, and I just don't. Ultimately, I don't think they did enough on the offensive side of the ball to even matter. They didn't replace him. I think that's what makes it more of a huge loss than the player itself. Is just the fact that they didn't really do a whole lot to replace him. Maybe they feel like they have enough in.
Come on, they picked up Zeke, man.
I see. I wasn't even gonna mention Zeke. I feel like we won the offseason in general, but welcome back to another dope episode of the Down South Philly Show with your hosts DP and Dom. Matter of fact, Dom, tell them about the gun line, boss.
Man, look, man, let me go ahead and tell y'all what we got lined up for y'all, man. So this episode, first off, let me say this. Go back and watch. We got a few episodes up already. Go back and check those episodes out if you haven't already.
3 fire.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on we kind of was just like trying to catch up to where we are now. So we kind of touched on the end of last season. How the last season ended. We touched on the off season. We touched on the draft. So this episode, we kind of wanted to touch on the NFC East as a whole. Every team in the division. That's pretty much what we got lined up for you today. Man, I personally, a lot of times when you want to save what you think might be the most important or the most intriguing to talk to for last. But man, I want to talk about Washington first. What you think?
Yeah, I feel like Washington probably behind us did, they was real active. A lot of the moves I'm a fan of, but before we even dive into that, I'm previewing this winter scarf right here. And no, not winter scarf. I'm wearing it because I feel like we won the offseason in general, but y'all be seeing this throughout the year. Whenever we catch a dub, I have on this winter scarf. I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I'm cool with starting with Washington. They, like I said, they did a lot of moves that I like, and it's gonna be interesting to see like what they do with it.
I agree. So I guess we can kind of touch on some of the. I guess we can start with the coaching staff because I guess the first thing they really did was fired some guys. So they fired Ron Rivera and pretty much Ron Rivera guys. They kept a few people in the building that they recently got rid of some old people after the draft. But anyway, I know everybody pretty much seen the writing on the wall, man, for a riverboat run. They was kind of talking about so when he got fired, they were talking about him coming to Philly. Well, he got interviewed, I think, coming to Philly. What was your thoughts?
As the defensive coordinator, yeah, I remember that. Well, technically, it was time for him to go from Washington. I didn't want him to. Obviously, selfishly, we want anybody in the division that had the worst coaches and players as possible. So, him, if they would have kept him, I wouldn't have been mad. But I definitely understand the move, especially when you bring somebody in like Dan Quinn, which we're gonna get to later. But when I heard the news that he could possibly be our defensive coordinator, I can't say I was excited about it, but you got to remember we was so desperate at the time. Like any name that you mentioned that was a vet, I was gonna kind of convince myself that it made sense on some level. So that's how I was feeling like when that first happened and they brought him in the building.
Yeah, I agree because I was feeling about the same. Man, I really just didn't want nobody who was just like a first time coordinator. So when they was like Ron Rivera, I'm looking up because he used to be a defensive coordinator before. So same thing. I'm basically already convinced myself, yeah, he gonna be good. Mm-hmm. He just don't need to be a head coach. Which I mean, he might be a good defensive coordinator. Just because we ain't get him, I ain't gonna say that he ain't.
Right,
but,
right.
I do like the pickup that we did get. But yeah, the writing was on the wall for Run, man. I thought he was gonna be gone last season.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be out of there. I thought he was gonna be up out of there last season. But when they held on to him, like you said, selfishly, I was glad. I knew they weren't really gonna do it. They all as a the division rival. I know regardless of who they coach is gonna be, it's always gonna be a tough game for us, no matter who it is. Giants, Washington, Dallas is always gonna be a tough game. So that part didn't really matter. But as far as what it was gonna do for the with the rest of their games, I knew it wasn't gonna be. I knew it wasn't gonna be too much. But they did. They fire him and they hire. First off, before we get into that, what did you think about what was their offensive coordinator?
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy. What did you think about Eric Bieniemy being over there?
I mean, he put up numbers. I wouldn't have been. I honestly wouldn't have been mad if he'd have came to Philly. Obviously, he worked under Andy for a number of years, and even with Howell, like last year, even though they wasn't a very good team, they still put up numbers on on offense. So I'm thinking, you team him and Hurts, so we might have something. So I wouldn't have been mad if they'd have brought him in the building.
Don't they know each other?
Maybe they might. They might know each other.
I think they know each other from something.
Because they might. I think they might have been linked. Like when the rumors came out when he first was leaving Kansas City.
Yeah, I think they know each other. But anyway, yeah, I thought Eric Bieniemy was I think he'll get OC. Of course, going from KC to Washington, different players. You don't have a Pat Mahomes over there, so and I think a lot of times, even when you going from a situation like that, you need more than really like a year to establish yourself. So I know it wasn't gonna be much. We probably was gonna see that first year, but anyway, they ended up hiring Dan Quinn as the head coach. How you feel about that? Because the last time we really seen Dan Quinn as a head coach, he was Atlanta head coach, and we all know what happened in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it was a smart move. I think that they made a lot of moves that made sense. That being one of them, and I think they was kind of in the same boat where it was like whatever move they made, as long as it was a competent move, it was the right move. Because I mean, like I said, it was time for Ron Rivera to go. It didn't seem like he really It seemed like he may have lost the players a little bit. He with his recent health scares or whatever, we don't know how locked in he even was anyway. So Dan Quinn, he had the experience of being a head coach before, so it wasn't brand new. So optimistically, from like Washington's standpoint, they may be looking at it like, well, he know what he did wrong. He at least made it to the Super Bowl. Maybe that experience could mean something down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great hire, a hire I didn't want them to make. I wish they probably would have got somebody else. I do think at minimum he gonna have their defense turned up over there.
Oh yeah.
So at a minimum, I know the defense is gonna be tough. And then they actually brought players over from Dallas. They brought a few guys over from Dallas.
They brought a lot of players over.
I can imagine they wanted to bring more, so we might see some more there next year. Because from what it looks like, man, a lot of players like to play with Dan Quinn. So like even some of his older guys that he coached on older teams, they always talking about him or trying to make their way over to him. Now,
yeah,
we see a whole lot of that in Dallas, but I think some of that is the Dallas organization not probably wanting to pay certain guys, and I think also some players just don't want to play for Dallas. I think with him being with a new organization who they trying to get somewhere, they whatever Dan Quinn wants, he probably gonna be able to get. So next offseason, we'll probably see even more players either come from Dallas or playing with him prior other places that guys that still in the league or whatever, but. Like I said, I think it's a good hire. Like at minimum, I think they have a pretty good, probably top 15 defense. Top 15, top 10 defense. We'll see. Now I think That's just a bad. That's a bad organization. When we see what they've
Mm-hmm.
done over the years, just like I feel like the Giants is a bad ran organization. I do think Dan Quinn can come in there and be a breath of fresh air just with his experience. Long as a lot of those guys are not in the building, like the rest of the organization is not stepping his way, they let him do what he want to do. I think it'll be a good. I think it'll work out for him.
Man, these additions though, when you think about Biadish from Dallas, the center, he could be a future Hall of Famer. Dorrance
Mm-hmm.
Armstrong, he was a playmaker. Bobby Wagner, that's the big one for me. I think he definitely, him and Frankie
Yeah,
Louvu at them linebacker positions, they make an instant impact there.
yeah,
I don't know what all he got left, but it'll be better than what they had.
yep.
Eckler, he a dog. Um, Classic move getting Zach Ertz. They always seem to get some of our leftovers, even though he didn't come directly from us. You can count on Washington to get at least one of our players every year. And then Cleveland Farrell, which I never really seen. He was a former first round draft pick from the Raiders. Um, but and then Jeremy Chin, I like that move. So yeah, the additions
Yeah,
that they had, they got some dogs on there. I think they addressed some of their needs defensively, and we'll see if they can tie that thing together, like, and make it look how it was looking in Dallas all these for them 2-3 years he was there.
yep, about three, I think. That Jeremy Chin move, man, I think that's
Yeah, that was a good one.
I think that's a good one too. So you got a vet at safety, you got a vet at linebacker, two playmakers. Like you said, I don't know what Bobby Wagner and them got left, but whoever else
It'll be
is a
better
lot
than what they had though.
for them older guys. But yeah, it'll be better than what they had. They know what to expect, and they already know what I think they play well with Dan. So, like I said, I think they have at least probably a top 15 defense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we'll see.
Maybe even top 10.
Maybe top 10. We'll see. And they got Cliff Kingsbury, Cardinals
OC.
Cardinals ex head coach, but they got him now as their OC. What you thought? What you think about that?
I still don't know what to feel about that because I mean that's been a big name around the league for a few years now. Didn't really pan out in Arizona, so I don't really have too much good or bad to say about it. I
Right.
really didn't see Kyler putting up crazy numbers, with Cliff. So I guess, again, he's supposed to be known as one of those college quarterback whisperers that's coming to the league. So he'll get a chance to prove it again this year.
Also, and the Cliff Kingsbury thing for me personally, I feel the same way. I don't really know what to feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was something there. They hired him. I guess we'll see what it looks like. I really don't have too much opinion on that other than wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of. It is just like with any other coach. It is some things I like about Cliff Kingsbury offense. There's some things that I didn't like about his offense. But
Right.
I mean, he took like a year off, so I'm sure he went and probably been in the lab a little bit. So we'll see what they cooking up with that. They also hired Brian Johnson, our ex OC, and they
Yeah.
hired him as their assistant head coach. I'm not sure what to make about that either. What you think about that?
Yeah, that was an interesting move. Being an assistant head coach, I really don't know what they do, to be honest. As long as he got even as bad as everything was last year, it was a learning experience. So maybe that was good enough to. I mean, obviously, coaches just get passed around like I don't know what in the league anyway. So I mean, we'll see. He don't have. It don't sound like he gonna have like his hands imprint on the offense, but maybe he'll have more input than he had last year. That's just a wait and see for me too.
Yeah. what's interesting to me with some of these hires are they hired Brian Johnson. Of course he's coming from Dallas already, so then he hires Brian Johnson. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to win the division, man. He trying to get some. I don't know if he's trying to get some intel on
Get
Philly.
some sauce.
Yeah, he trying to get a little intel on Philly. Let me bring this guy over here.
He brought the wrong one.
He trying to get some intel on Hurts. Hey, he know all about. He's trying to. But anyway, so he brought Brian Johnson over there from because that was interesting to me. I don't know if they got a prior relationship, but I'm trying to figure out how did he get an assistant head coach job.
Right.
Maybe a prior relationship or something. I don't know. Or maybe that's another Washington Philly hire. You know, they always trying to get somebody out of our building. I don't think it's gonna work out for them, but I feel like I can tell what they're trying to do. And of course, with him being in Dallas all these years, he already know all the other teams in the division as well as Dallas because that's who he's leaving. So it'll be interesting to see what they can muster up this year. Now they might be something in the future going forward, but this first year gonna be interesting under Dan Quinn for sure. Now, you want to go? You got anything else to say about that? You want to go ahead and get into Washington draft?
Nah, that was it. I'm interested to get into the draft. Talk about this number 2 draft pick that they got.
Yeah, so unlike seasons before when they was pressured into getting doggone defensive lineman instead of getting a quarterback, which I mean ultimately may work out for him. I don't know, who knows, but with the number 2 pick in the draft, the Washington. I don't even like that name, man. The Washington. Let me just say that while we on it. You probably will rarely hear me. Y'all will rarely hear me say Commanders because I'm just calling Washington. I don't really like. I think that name trash. They had two seasons to come up with a name. They came up with Washington Commanders. Man, come on, man. They could have been called anything else. The mother said the Washington Commanders, but with a number 2 pick in the draft, they draft the quarterback. What you think? What was your thoughts on that? We kind of already knew we already kind of knew they was going.
Yeah, that wasn't a surprise. I mean, Jaden Daniels, if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have won the Heisman last year. So, Heisman winning quarterback. Yep. Got Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. I just hope. I kind of had mixed feelings about it because on one hand, I always like to see the young guys get a chance to show what they got. But with him being in division, it's a little bit of hate that come with it. But ultimately, like if they give him enough time, we'll see. I just, you should temper expectations because everybody in this league that we in now, everybody want people to take off and hit the ground running, and then when you get certain occurrences like CJ Stroud, that don't make it no better for the young guys. So he in a tough division. That's gonna be gunning for his head. He of course there's gonna be growing pains, but I think that was the best that they could do in the draft.
Yeah. Everybody pretty much seen that coming. I think, I don't know. It's like I said in previous episodes, I don't really watch college like that. So I did go back and check Jaden Daniels out. I think he could prove to be something in the NFL. We'll see. It's like you were saying, everybody moving forward, everybody is gonna not that they weren't even doing it already, but moving forward, everybody's gonna be looking at their rookie quarterback to be CJ Stroud. That rookie year is not really gonna happen. They better look over there at Carolina.
Yeah,
get a little bit more realistic. Not to say it's gonna be that bad or say it's gonna be that at all, but man, We talked about this before. We're big fans of, hey, you might have to sit behind a vet for a year. So I would rather my quarterback sit behind. Now it really kind of depends on your situation. Like CJ
Yeah.
Stroud, and I can't even say I had one of CJ Stroud to sit for a year. If I had a good vet quarterback for a year, hey, bro, nobody knew that Stroud was gonna have that type of season.
Right.
So you can't really expect every quarterback. You can't say that him sitting for half of that season or that whole season wouldn't have, still helped him. And you kind of got to know. You kind of got to know who you got with your quarterback. What you got. And a lot of times these guys they getting drafted early because they going to bad teams. So you
Mm-hmm.
already know your expectations. But I think that could be a solid pickup for him. I watched a few of his interviews. I like his mindset. I like his mentality. I think they got a good head coach over there that he's been partnering with because a lot of time your success is predicated on what team, what kind of coaches you got around you. I said this before. I feel like Fields is a good quarterback. I just feel like he went to the wrong situation and they didn't help him out at all over there.
He would love to have had an opportunity that Caleb getting this year.
Man, he would have loved to have the
You know how
opportunity
mad he is right now to see all them weapons over there?
Man, that situation. He would love to go over here with Jaden Daniels going. This is a good situation with Jaden Daniels going to as
Yeah,
a
it's
rookie
not
quarterback.
bad.
You
It's
a
not bad.
team
It
that
ain't what Caleb got, but it ain't
ain't
bad.
what Caleb got, but it's better than what most rookie quarter. If
That's
you
true.
getting drafted, if you getting as a quarterback second pick overall, you ain't going to no situation like Jaden Daniels going to normally.
Mm-hmm.
He got weapons already. Probably gonna have a pretty solid defense. As a rookie quarterback, you want you a good defense to have your back on the other side of the ball, which he more than likely gonna have, and you want your running game. We know Washington got like a pretty decent running game over there with what's that running back they got over there?
Well, Brian
Rob.
Robinson.
Yeah,
He a
I like.
dog.
Yeah, I like to do. So you go into a team that you got you a good solid running back. Then I think they picked up somebody else, right? Did they get another running back in free agency?
Austin Eckler, another
Yeah,
dog.
yeah, that's what. Yeah. You gonna have you a solid running game.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna have some weapons at wide receiver, and you gonna have a defense. Come on, man, ain't too many rookie quarterbacks going to that type situation. Now it ain't Caleb Williams situations, but it's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can ask for too much better than that. Round 2, pick 36. They got a defensive tackle out of Illinois. I don't really know. Oh, this
He's supposed to be a dog.
yeah, I was about to say this old boy they be calling Johnny Newton or something like that. I think.
Yeah. But when it comes to that pick, like I feel similar to how I feel about Stoutland on the offensive side. Like they seem to do pretty well with identifying talent at defensive tackle. So I just assume that he won't be no different.
Mm-hmm. Now was somewhere around here they had a trade with us. What was it? I think it was a pick. Was it a pick after that?
It might have been a pick after that because they allowed us to go get that man, Cooper DeJean.
I think we kind of talked about it on the other episode. But what was you thinking when we made a trade and they was like it was with Washington?
Well, when I heard seeing Coop was still available, and then hearing that, I knew what it was at that point because he wasn't supposed to be there. So the fact that he was there, I knew how he did exactly what he was supposed to do. Another one, even though we moved up, he still fell in our lap because we talked about it on another episode. That's a first round talent, no brainer, in a position that we clearly needed for not only this year but for the future. So we knocked it out the park with that one.
They picked up after they did the trade with us, they ended up they picked up I think they ended up picking up the next week. I think because we had the 50 and 53rd pick, so they ended up getting those 2 picks, which essentially they're picking back to back almost. So they ended up getting in the second round. They ended up getting pick 50. They ended up getting Mike I don't know how to say my guy's name. I'm not gonna even mess him up, but defensive back out of Michigan, and then they got Ben Sinnott, tight end out of Kansas State. I think that's gonna be a solid pickup. That tight end. I did look at a little bit of his film prior to the draft. I kind of looked at tight ends. I think he's gonna be solid. And he's going in the room with Zach Ertz, so you can't go wrong there.
From a leadership standpoint, he should be pretty good.
Round 3, they got Brandon Coleman, guard out of TCU. Round 3, they also got Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver. What you know about Luke McCaffrey? You looked at anything on Luke?
Well, I mean, outside of knowing that he come from a long line of dogs, I didn't really look at his tape like that. Obviously, he didn't come with the same prestige as McCaffrey with the 49ers. But, if he could be a solid piece, I guess that's all they can hope for.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Like you said, you can't really go too wrong sometimes drafting them bloodlines. So we know he got that dog in him. We'll see if Washington can get it out of him. It could be a solid option down the stretch, or at least a great development in the future. Round 5, pick 139, they get a linebacker out of Temple. They also pick up same round a safety, Dominique Hampton. Round 7, they get Javonte Jean-Baptiste, edge rusher. I think there's some solid pickups for them, man. They got some stuff
they had a good draft.
Guys to work with on defense. They got some solid offensive pickups. Of course, my favorite pick out of their draft, if I can have a favorite Washington pick, is gonna be the quarterback. If I was drafting for Washington, I would have did the same thing. So I would say that's the most intriguing pickup. Like I said, I do like that Ben Sinnott pickup, and I like the Newton pickup, defensive tackle. So we'll see what they do. Of course, when they come up against Philly, and none of that really gonna matter.
So with Washington, could you have seen any scenario where they keep Howell and go and get him a weapon in the first round?
Honestly, when the season was first over, I didn't really know. I was wondering how they felt about Howell.
Yeah.
Because going into that season, now I can't say I know a lot of Washington fans, but a few of them were high on Howell. So, and as that being your team, you gonna want your regardless of who the quarterback is, you gonna want that guy to be good anyway. So, I think it was a few. I think a few of those games probably went the other way. They might have not got it at quarterback. Maybe if they had beat us them 2 times and they beat Chicago, who's to say Howell's not still there? So I didn't when the season first ended, I didn't know if they were still gonna keep Howell. I was wondering myself, just like everybody else, how they felt about him. They ended up trading him. I kind of was surprised. I didn't know if he was gonna sit on the bench. They was gonna draft somebody or what, but they got rid of him. So that kind of showed you right there what they was gonna do. So they took the guessing work out of it, and we knew they was going to go get a quarterback. But Howell looked like he could be promising. Where did he go? The Saints or something? Where did he end up going?
I think he might be in Seattle.
Oh, Seattle? Yeah, so somewhere like that. Something that start with S. Seattle Saints. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I kind of was wondering if they was gonna get a quarterback or not. I honestly thought they was gonna keep Howell and see what they can get out of them. But like when you end up changing coaches and stuff like that,
yeah, that wasn't his guy.
Yeah, a lot of them guys, they like, hey, I ain't draft this guy. Let me go, get who I want. And plus, if my job gonna be on the line, I want it to be on the back of somebody I brought in the building. Yeah, I wanted to be on the back of somebody I brought in the building, not nobody who was here before me and don't really know a lot about you, or I wouldn't have probably drafted you if I was here. So
Yeah,
Dan,
ultimately, I think they made the smart move. I was hoping that him torching us last year twice would have been enough, but you know, everybody torched us last year. But I was hoping that they would have fallen for that fool's gold and kept him around to see if he could
pull the
duplicate it this year.
Dan, you want them to pull a Daniel Jones? Pay him. You want that man to get 40 million early. Because Daniel Jones showed trick them boys over there. We about to get into the Giants in a second. Matter of fact, we probably could get into them next.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get them out the way.
So let me pull them up. I don't really know a whole lot about what they did. My phone about to die. I don't really know a whole lot about what them boys did over there. Let me pull them up.
They was actually pretty active, more active than usual. They made a few key moves. Obviously Brian Burns, I love that move. I don't know if I would have necessarily gave up like the money aspect of it. They paid him a lot of money, but definitely a piece that they needed. And I mean, I wanted Burns in Philly, so that tells you how I feel about that. They added Drew Lock, so he with Daniel Jones on the roster, he could possibly be competing. If it wasn't for the money, he could possibly be competing for a job if they don't start how they wanted to start. Devin Singletary to kind of replace Saquon Barkley, which ain't. I mean, Devin Singletary to me. I mean, obviously they needed a running back, but he definitely not a replacement for Saquon. Um,
Right.
a complimentary piece at best with him. Isaiah McKenzie as wide receiver, I'm not really too sure about him. Don't know much about him. Jalen Mills was an interesting pick. I actually didn't realize that until I was researching about some of the Giants' moves. Solid pickup. We know, obviously being in Philly, what Mills is. We know what he can bring to the table, and we know his deficiencies. But overall, I think it's still a solid pickup because he's one of those pieces that you can put him, outside. You can put him at safety, kind of one of those chess pieces that you can use. And with him being older, I'm sure he's a savvy vet at this point. I think the loss of Xavier McKinney is going to be felt. That's a huge loss, and I think that's what they was thinking when they signed Jalen Mills, is that they can kind of replace some of that production. But McKinney is one of the ones, and obviously Saquon Barkley. That's the biggest loss outside of Tyrod Taylor, backup quarterback, Ashawn Robinson, which is a solid D tackle. I think he might have started off in Washington. I'm not sure, but he's definitely out of Alabama. One of those dogs that they lost. But I think the biggest piece will be that they lost is the Saquon Barkley, just because he was just so much of the offense. We never saw a whole lot go right for the Giants because deficiencies at the line, deficiencies all over the field, really. Saquon was just their bell cow and a majority of the offense, and a huge piece, a huge reason why they made it to the playoffs and ultimately won a game before they got curb stomped by the Eagles. But I felt like that's probably going to be the biggest loss. I'm interested to see what Neighbors does. Again, he's not going to a great situation, but he will. He has the opportunity to be a number one right out the gate, just because they really don't have much. Another move. I think they lost Waller. Waller, he might have retired.
Waller, yeah, he retired.
Yeah,
He retired.
so Waller retiring, I mean, I don't know, man. He never really panned out outside of the Raiders, and obviously with some off the field issues mixed with injuries. But other than the flashes that he had when he was with the Raiders, it really wasn't too much to be desired. So I don't think that's a huge loss. I think it was just he had that name recognition, and what the thought of what he could be was a sexy pickup. But just losing him ain't really. I don't think they'll feel that at all. But
They did
Saquon,
get.
who?
You know who they did get though was our tight end Jack. They got Jack Stowe.
Okay, I mean that's a solid pickup. It's not like he's scary, but I mean solid,
He not,
solid.
but I'm just
Yeah,
that's a
that's
decent 1 year. That's a decent 1 year pickup that I didn't. I don't know that I necessarily realized. I knew he was gone, but I can't remember if I remember that he went to the Giants. I'm sitting here looking at it now. I was like, okay, yeah, they got Jack.
yeah,
Which a lot of times when you got a guy who been playing in Philly for a while, it's really all about using them correctly because
right.
they 9 times out of 10 they've been coached up pretty good. So maybe they can get some production out of them. They did get another tight end, Chris Manhertz from Denver. So maybe they got a little tight end by committee over there.
Maybe.
What else they got here? Nick. This got to be a backup guy. Nick McLeod, cornerback. I don't see anything else other than what you called out that probably like really stood out. My whole thing is they got the Brian Burns thing. This is my thing with the Giants. It's just like how I'm personally looking at them, but the Brian Burns thing to me is like I feel like that's a move you make when you you got somewhat of a team. I feel like that. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just judging them by last season, but I don't really see the Giants doing a whole lot. I don't know if they got tricked by beating us that last game or they think they got more than what they got. But I don't know if I would have went and spent that type of money on the defensive side of the ball.
Nah.
You bringing in a guy to come in and lose games,
Basically.
I don't know if you lack of all right. We can't do much on offense. Let's see if we can get some turnovers on defense. I don't know. I don't know what type of pickup that was, but it definitely was interesting to me because I don't know. I just feel like that's a pickup you make when you a little bit of a better team, or at least they don't even look like. I don't know what they got going on. They don't even look like they in a rebuild, or I don't know. I don't know what
they
they
in
got.
a weird. They in that weird. They in a weird phase right now, and I think what happened. They got tricked by that year they went to the playoffs. They went early. They wasn't supposed to go to the playoffs. You know, the NFC as a whole was kind of having a down year. Still really not. Well, we'll see. But I would say, especially that year, the NFC wasn't like super strong as we've seen in the past. So that year they messed around. They made it to the second round. So, but they never really built on it. And then they let Saquon walk while paying Daniel Jones, but not really giving him any weapons. That's my pet peeve around the league is if you feel like you have found your guy, I feel like you need to surround him with some weapons and not just expect just because you gave him a bag that he's supposed to uplift whatever is in the building. It's just not going to happen like that. I don't care if you got Mahomes or Daniel Jones. Your quarterback needs some weapons. And I don't think they did enough on the offensive side of the ball to even matter.
Exactly. I agree. That's why the whole Brian Burns thing was like, you make a pickup like that, we think you about to go crazy in the offseason.
Yeah.
They ain't really do too much. Y'all let some key pieces go. You let McKinney go just to bring in Brian Burns and pay like
makes no sense.
Not saying that you want to pay a safety. You always want to like reassure the defensive and offensive line, but still like you want to pay that type of money right now because they, like you said, they in a weird position. Like I don't that whole season that you was just talking about, they really hurt them more than anything. Like them going to the playoffs at the time, it looked good, but it really kind of put them in the bind, which is
because it got Jones paid. But, that's ultimately that's probably what is going to hold the franchise back because they gave him that bag, and we see the writing on the wall. It's just a matter of how long they gonna stick in there before before it's over with. Because I mean, Dayball, I would say Dayball as a head coach, I like him. I like Daboll as a head coach. Obviously, another division guy, so you don't want him to do too good. But I mean, he a solid coach. He just hasn't had much to work with since he's been in New York.
Right, man. That gotta be a crazy situation. Like you become a head coach, and of course, 9 times out of 10, you becoming a head coach is kind of like getting drafted first in the draft. You go into a bad team, so that's kind of a weird position to be a head coach in, because it's like your job. Because you think they gonna you think they have a bad season like they did this year? You think they're gonna go ahead and get Daboll out of
Yeah. Yeah, because unfortunately, he's tied at the hip with Daniel Jones, so I don't really see. I think both of them probably be gone, and because they paid Daniel Jones, he might be gone before Daniel Jones, depending on what kind of season it is.
mid
I'm
season?
just
They
interested
bye
to
week.
see. Yeah, I'm interested to see. They didn't really give Jones much to work with, so I feel like it's really gonna be more of the
He
same of
turned
what
around.
we did see. Huh?
I said, then they turned around and got rid of Saquon.
Yeah. So I mean, they
On top,
didn't help their offense out at all. Outside of neighbors, I
yeah,
think it's a solid pickup, but ultimately, I don't think it's enough.
it looked like they got worse.
Mm-hmm.
They got their Singletary, but I mean, he ain't a bad back. But like you said, he ain't no Saquon. So I guess we'll see, man. I ain't expecting too much out of it. It's too early to be doing predictions, but we know where I got them at. And where we all got them at. But getting into the draft a little bit, the Giants draft, round 1, number 6 pick overall. We touched on this. They got Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. Look very promising. Now pickups like this, Malik Neighbors, he a dog.
Yep.
So my thing about this is I like him. I can't root for him. I wish he would have went to somebody else so I could pull for him. But he over there at the Giants, so now I kind of got. I don't really wish bad on you, but I don't wish good on you either. So, but I do like Malik Neighbors though. I really wish he probably would have went to another team so I could root for him, because that man a dog. Round 2, and Daniel Jones coming off an injury too, so that's a crazy thing as well. Like,
Yeah.
he comes off an injury, you get rid of Saquon, you finally go get him a wide receiver.
But that's it.
That's it, man.
And is it just me, or are they the worst when it comes to a line? Like, they've been trying to fix their line for like a decade. They line been terrible for a long time.
Yeah, they need to. Well, how you was talking about Washington always picking up players from Philly. If I was the Giants, I would have been trying to get somebody backup lineman or somebody out the practice squad.
For
man,
real.
Let me get somebody out there. For real. You got that. If I'm them, I'm looking at all the teams around the league who got good offensive linemen and good offensive linemen coaches, and I'm trying to I'm trying to pay them guys. I'm trying to pull a how. You know how they wait till them guys get on their last few deals. Now most people pay their linemen, but you might can get a backup guy who probably just as good that couldn't get paid. So I don't know what they got going over there. Or you could just draft you a guy. I don't know what they get.
Well, they been drafting. They just been they been trash at drafting them.
But round 2, they get Tyler Nubin. What is that? Safety out of Minnesota.
Position of need.
Yep. They just got rid of old boy, so they had to go get him a safety. Round 3, round 3, 70th pick overall, we get Drew Phillips, cornerback out of Kentucky. They did need a cornerback. I don't know much about that guy, so I can't really speak on that one. I do know Tyler Nubin is a solid pickup. I did look at a little bit of his film, so I like those first 2 pickups. Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin. Let me see. Round 4, they get Theo Johnson, tight end out of Penn State.
They needed him.
Tight end.
If anything, they definitely addressed their needs.
They addressing their needs, so we got to see if
Mm-hmm.
these guys turn out. Now, round 5, pick 166, they get Tyrone Tracy, running back out of Purdue. Purdue be having some running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Round 6, 183. They get a linebacker, Darius, out of UCLA. So I mean, they was addressing positions and needs. Now they just got to see if they can coach these guys up and get them to where they need to be. But ultimately, it's gonna be on Daniel Jones, man.
Yep.
It's gonna be Daniel Jones. They all in their offensive line. Can they hold up so he can get Malik Neighbors the ball? Can Devin Singletary? We know he's not gonna be Saquon, but can he be solid
Right.
in his role? So I
Because it
guess
wasn't
we'll see.
like he was terrible with the Texans, but
Nah,
he more of a B than a A.
yeah,
But it's better than better than nothing at the same time.
yep. So you gotta do something. So I mean, I'm not expecting too much out of. Maybe this is for the better for them. Maybe they need everybody to be doubting them. Now I don't see them having the season that they had. They got Daniel Jones paid because we always doubting them that season. But I mean,
Every
they
season.
still had Saquon. They still had a couple other things going on for them, man. I don't see them guys. I don't see them guys doing too much. They gotta prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of like little brother in a sense. Not to talk too heavy, but it just seemed like w- between them and Washington, we kind of never really worry about them. They kind of, no matter
Right.
what happened, we always feel like we can count on at least one of them wins, and if not both of them. I don't feel that way this year about either one of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if we swept the Giants though, just because that's just how it go.
Right. I agree. So now moving on. For you, got anything else you want to talk about
No, I
the
think
little?
I think that's pretty much it. Cause like I said, we already covered it. That it's really gonna come down to what Daniel Jones can give you, and I just don't think they gave him enough to even find out.
Mm-hmm. So now we're gonna move over to our most hated rivals in the whole entire division, in the
All
whole
in,
entire
baby.
them
All in,
doggone,
baby.
them doggone Blue Stars. So
Dallas.
Dallas, you wanna run through their offseason pickups?
Yeah, let's see what they did. I'm done. But nah, they really. I mean, out of the whole league,
I
they
think they
was
might have made
actually.
one, maybe moves, right? Let me
Yeah, so
see.
I mean, their biggest addition was Eric Kendricks, Michael Kendricks' brother, which is a solid pickup because obviously they needed a linebacker. Ultimately, that's one of the things that got them booted out the playoffs. Um, but their losses are actually bigger. They signed a running back too out of um out of LA, the Rams. I can't think of his name right now, and it's not on my list. But they signed the running back from the Rams. Their losses include Tony Pollard, which I don't think he was a huge loss, but just because they didn't replace him, I think that's what makes it more of a huge loss than the player itself. Is just the fact that they didn't really do a whole lot to replace him. Maybe they feel like they have enough in.
Come on, they picked up Zeke, man.
I see. I wasn't even gonna mention Z. Z.
Zeke,
So
man.
they pick up
Yeah.
whatever is left out of Zeke. I mean, to be fair with Zeke though, I'm not gonna say he had a terrible year last year. I think he
Nah, he
still
did.
made some stuff happen. It's just like
Probably.
the 2016 Zeke is gone.
Yeah, because it's
And
kind of hard to talk about Zeke without thinking
bring
about Zeke of old.
primetime Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he used to terrorize us. So I'm not upset that he kind of fell off the cliff. But him being back at this point in his career don't scare me at all. I do feel like it answers the problem that they had on the goal line though, because last year they couldn't even get it in from 1 yard out. They wasn't getting no touchdown. They wasn't getting no first down. I still think he got that in him. He's still good for a 1-2 yard touchdown. But ultimately, I don't think they had that guy that's a difference maker at running back. And you're gonna need a running game to one hang with us, but you're gonna need a running game to get where you trying to go, especially with a first place schedule. I just think that their losses, Pollard, Tyron Smith, which when healthy, one of the best left tackles in the game, but like I said, when healthy, as of late, the past few years, it just seemed like he another Jason Peters. Good when he on the field, but hurt more than he is on the field. I'm interested to see what he does with the Jets. But I think it's a huge loss because, again, they didn't really do a whole... Dallas is just interesting this year because they didn't do a whole lot, but you got the owner coming out. Jerry gonna talk his talk, but he gonna come out and say something about them being all in, and then proceeds to do nothing in the offseason to to assure his fan base that they all in. And then, they had a decent draft, but it's nothing I wouldn't say is any moves in there that scares me. Ultimately, we'll have to see as far as the draft picks. They traditionally they draft well. You got to give Dallas that. They know how to pick players. They've picked some dogs over the years, but coming off another 12-5 season, obviously I wouldn't even say that Mike McCarthy is on the hot seat. I feel like obviously they didn't bring him back, so he on a 1-year deal. Dak on a 1-year deal. CD want to get his bread. I don't really understand why they talking about Micah in a money light, just because he still is on contract. And he gonna get his bread regardless. So I think from a player standpoint, they don't have no choice but to pay CD. It's just a matter of when with CD. He is their offense, kind of like Saquon was with the Giants. So they really don't have no choice but to pay him. That it is what it is. He gonna get broke off regardless at the end of the year. He gonna be making $60 million a year. The question is, will it be for Dallas or somebody else? But it's just interesting to see that they come out and say one thing and then just don't do anything the whole offseason. It's a head scratcher for me. I love it. It's a head scratcher for me, so I can only imagine how the fans feel.
How you feel about the defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer they hired?
I don't really. He's not better to me than Dan Quinn. Obviously Zimmer, famously known for the double A gap blitz. But we've never had problems beating a Mike Zimmer defense, so I welcomed him coming to that situation. And they don't really have no linebackers. I mean, that would explain why they picked up Kendricks. Obviously he's been in that system before, so he's familiar with his scheme. But yeah, man, that's a head scratcher. That none of their moves really made a whole lot of sense to me, or lack thereof.
Do you think so if they turn around and have a well, matter of fact, let me ask you this: do you think that whether it's Jerry Jones or whoever, do you think they feel like, because how many games did they win last season? 12, 13?
12.
So boom, they won 12 games, and up until basically the playoffs, or I can't remember their last game, but basically up until the playoffs, they was a pretty good team. I thought they was gonna go to the NFC Championship. I thought this is a year they'll probably see San Fran NFC Championship. Now, do you think that they're looking at it like, hey, if we come back, they did lose a couple guys, but for the most part, do you think that they're looking at it like, hey, we're gonna come back with dang near almost the same team? We do a couple things differently, that's the difference in us getting to the next game versus picking up extra players. Do you think they looking at it like that, or you think they just sitting on their hands?
Bro, that's got to be their mentality. Because I can't really put my finger on what it is other than that. Because I mean, looking at it objectively, they had this their third year, 12-5. Last year the stars aligned for them, and they folded because obviously they basically backed into the NFC East championship just because we just wasn't that good of a team. But we still was standings wise ahead of them pretty much all year long. Until we just the wheels fell off at the end. But last year to secure, we gift wrapped them. But hey, it don't say that on the shirt. It don't say that it's a gift wrap on the on the NFC East championship shirt. But ultimately, fumbling a 2 seed like they did, losing to a 7 seed and losing to a 7 seed in an embarrassing fashion, which came out of nowhere because you remember going into that game, they had never lost at home that year. At home they was putting up like 50, 60, some crazy number they was putting up. Basically, all roads was like you said, it was looking like it was gonna be a cakewalk to the NFC Championship, and them boys got put in the pack. No pun intended. But so I would think that their mentality would be going into this year. Hey, let's just go ahead and add a few key pieces. Now, if they would have got Brian Burns, that would have made sense. All the sense in the world. Put him and Parsons on the edges, and that would make more sense to me. But they didn't do nothing, so I can't. I appreciate it.
So a lot of teams they gonna try to strengthen their weakness, whatever it was, or they ain't even try to strengthen their strengths. Like they ain't even like, hey, we gonna double down on edges or something. Nothing.
They didn't get CD no help.
Corner, they didn't get nobody else at wide receiver. Now they still got what's my man name? And the other wide receiver they got last year?
Cooks,
yeah, they still got Cooks, right?
Yeah, they still got Cooks. But I mean,
I guess they gonna they let my other guy they let Gallup go.
Yeah, he just was never the same after that injury.
He wasn't the same, but he did look like he might have been, picking up a little bit towards the end of the season. We'll see what he do with. I think he got picked up by somebody, but I guess we'll see what he do over there. But ultimately, like you said, ain't no spilled milk for me. I hope they don't do nothing.
Yep.
I hope them boys don't win a game, but they might mess around and have another 12-win season. What you think? What's the backup? What's the backup name? They got
talking about Lance.
Lance.
Trey
what you
Lance.
think about?
I mean, I really don't. Lance? Go ahead.
I said, you see a situation where Trey Lance end up getting some PT?
Nah, I don't really think because Dak is a regular season quarterback. Like during the season, I don't think he's gonna do nothing to get benched. He puts up numbers. He still got McCarthy. This is his third year with a similar system. So last year was McCarthy's first year like officially taking over the play calling. But as a head coach, you gotta have some say. So I feel like Dak. I don't have no concerns about Dak in the regular season. We know what he is. He gonna light it up in the regular season. It's just gonna be interesting to see how this offseason and how CD is being handled is gonna affect the season. But at the end of the day, since he is the offense, they probably gonna pick up where they left off between them two. They just don't have enough weapons outside of him to scare me.
So it come down to it. They gotta pay CD, Dak, and Micah. You think Dak the odd man out?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it don't make no sense to pay him. Because either way he gonna get a bag. waiting to the end of the season is definitely going to be 60. Right now, they probably save about a few million off the deal, but ultimately it's still going to be, close to 60 mil, if not 60 mil. So they waited too late. They should have signed him,
Yeah.
5-6 quarterbacks ago. But I mean, I understand from the standpoint of it's the wait and see approach. If he somehow get them to an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl, he gonna get a bag. But even if he don't, he still gonna get a bag. It just might not be from Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. I mean, basically, it's a win-win for him.
He in that sweet spot.
Yeah, it's a win-win for him. All he got to do is not go out there and turn into a pumpkin. As long as he go out there and beat being in the regular season, win a playoff game, well, go.
He don't even got to win no playoff game. If he have a typical 11-12 win season, like, because I mean last year, he finished second in the MVP vote, so I mean that's playing toward him, in his favor. So really, he just need to go out, and he don't have to be great. He just can be what he's been, and shit, he gonna coast to a bag.
Right. Yep. Right there. Let it fall into his lap like it's a blessing. But
fair catch.
So hey, let me say this too while we talking about that. Do you see a situation where Micah Parsons ever becomes a Philadelphia Eagle?
Nah. I just don't think. I think he too special. He too special of a player to let walk out of the building. He came in the league with them comparing him to Lawrence Taylor, which I don't ever know that was ever a fair comparison. Obviously, we've seen flashes of him be great. Pro Bowls every year, just get to the quarterback whenever he wants. It seemed like, and kind of just taper off at the end of the year.
I'll just say that. It seemed like playoffs comes, Michael Parsons be on the milk carton.
Yeah, but that's kind of the MO of the whole Dallas. They had these great regular seasons, and then first, second round they out of there. That's been that way for 30 years.
Boy, as soon as the playoffs come, they sleep at the wheel.
Yeah, so I mean, I really don't. I think he gonna get his money. Not only do I think he gonna get his money, I think he gonna probably end up being like the highest non-defensive, and especially from guarantee standpoint, he gonna get a bag. Yeah, he gonna get a bag because he trying to top Bosa, and he gonna top Bosa. And if he don't, somebody gonna give it to him. I really don't see. Of course, I would welcome him to Philly, but I don't see us giving him the type of bag that he about to get. Or else we still have credit.
So, I don't know, man. We'll see. What was my other question? I had another question for you. It slipped my mind. Oh, I know I was going to ask you. So we got a scenario where, they letting Dak walk. You think Trey Lance come in for a year, or you think they draft the quarterback?
I guess it'll just depend on what kind of season it is. If they mess around and have one of the middle of the pack type seasons, they're gonna either have to draft up, or they're gonna have to see what he got. Because I mean, they got him, they got Rush. One thing I can say about Rush is that'll finally allow them to focus on like the weapons. And I don't. It's weird the way the NFL handle their quarterbacks, man. But they want to wait till the quarterback, to the backup get in to focus on the run game and the weapons around them. So, ideally, that's what I would want, is them to be a middle of the pack kind of NFL purgatory, if you will.
Is Cooper Rush? That's who came in when Dak was hurt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's still on the roster?
Yeah, he's still there.
I thought he got his walking papers.
Nah, he's still there. It wasn't too much interest. I mean, he a backup. He that's what he gonna be, a backup. But I think it's probably gonna be more of the same. I don't know. For this year, just don't feel like a typical like Dallas offseason. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah,
they not really known for making a lot of moves, but never known for sitting on their hands like this.
yeah. I don't know what they got going on. A lot of people saying that Jerry trying to sabotage Dak so he can get up out of there. Um, I really don't know what's going on. I mean, at the end of the day, I can kind of buy that. I think they had like bad cap too. Like they didn't really have a lot of
Yeah,
money.
but
Um,
the cat. If Howie would have made some shake.
yeah, Howie would have made some shape, but I think I'm not using that as an excuse, but I think that was just like another thing that they kind of had on their plate. So um, Jerry is not because the man came out a season or two ago and was saying that if somebody wanted to be on the Dallas Cowboys, they would hit him up like during the bye week. You know how
Mm-hmm.
the trades leading up to the bye week. So instead of him going out and get a player, he waiting for GMs and teams to call him. Like I don't know what kind of moves or what that says to the rest of your team, but it doesn't seem like a team that's all in. I could like I was getting ready to say was I could see a situation where he just like, man, look, we was pretty good last year. We didn't lose too many guys. I feel like we got the right guys in the building, and we can at least win another 12 games and get into the playoffs again, and basically see what happens. Um, now, you never know with the NFL, injury here, injury there. They could be the best team smoking, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's got to be at this point. Because I mean, anything that they could have done, like everybody has been picked up, unless they willing to make a splash trade, which Dallas ain't never been known for doing, outside of like Amari Cooper maybe. But yeah, it is. I appreciate it, Jerry. We'll see.
Now my phone died, so pull up that draft for me. My phone I put it on the charger, but pull up that draft for me and we can go through a couple players, through who they drafted.
So they got 7 draft picks. Starting off with that tackle out of Arkansas. Don't really know too much about him, but from the consensus, he kind of seems like he could be a developmental piece in a year where they needed somebody that could come in and be like a day one starter. So we'll see.
Did
We'll
you
see
think
how
they were
he.
going over that first overall pick?
I really didn't know what they was gonna do. To be honest, I couldn't put my hand on it. I know they needed it just because of what they lost. So, the move made sense. It's just it was more so the pick itself over like the position. Like they needed the position, but I felt like they could have got like, especially they ended up trading back in the first round. So I felt like it was a guy there, a center there that they and I think Skip was talking about it too. He was mad that they didn't go ahead and grab that center. But I mean, the move made sense. It's just I don't necessarily know if the player made sense. But he going to a situation where they need him to contribute right away. So we'll see. Let's see. Second round, they get an edge rusher, Marshawn Nealon, out of Western Michigan. Don't really know a whole lot about him either. But he go into a situation where he can learn from Micah. A Zimmer led defense. Zimmer normally has some dogs on the edges, so I think he can coach them up. Third round we got Cooper Beebe out of Kansas. It don't even have what he. I ain't never seen one with no position. It just got his name in Kansas State.
I
Um,
remember his name, so I think he's a pretty good player. I heard that name before. I can't remember what position he played, but
I come back to him. Got a linebacker. They had 2 third-round picks. So the second one is a linebacker, Maris Leofo out of Notre Dame. I think he he's a pretty solid player. Just don't know what he'll do in year one being a young guy. They did need a corner, so they addressed that need in the 5th round with Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest. Not a well-known guy, but we'll see because they did lose Gilmore, which was a solid vet for them. But they still have
Diggs.
They got Diggs and then Bland. Bland had them pick sixes last year. So maybe he can learn behind those guys. And then they addressed tackle again with Nathan Thomas out of Louisiana. So I mean, overall, I don't think that I think their draft was better than their offseason. But I'm trying to find out who Cooper Beebe is because they don't have no position for him. But yeah, I think their draft was better than the rest of the offseason for him. But ultimately, I just don't feel like they moved the needle. They, especially from an all-in standpoint, I think they traditionally draft well, so I don't really see that changing outside of maybe the first overall tackle that they took in the first round. But we'll see. How you feel about their draft?
I feel like they grabbed some player positions in need, basically.
Yeah.
No splash pickups. Now, normally with Dallas, we'll see, especially that first round. For the most part, we are
Something
used
sexy.
to. We'll see them picking up a Diggs or a CD Lamb or something like that. But this year they had to do what they had to do. Tighten up them linemen and because that line they ain't getting no younger. So at a time,
And they lost some key pieces too. With
they lost guys and they got some guys
old
that
guys
probably out of hand a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't sexy, but it was what was needed.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't think. I mean, I'm gonna keep saying this until they prove me wrong. I just don't think like they moved the needle this off season. But obviously, you don't win games in June and July, so we'll see what September hitting on from them. But last but not least, we got the whole reason we got this channel. Them bad boys in Midnight Green and sometimes Kelly. The Philadelphia Eagles, and we kind of went over our whole draft in a previous video, so we're not gonna bore y'all with that. Obviously, we have to mention the additions of Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, just because why not? Dogs, straight dogs. Definitely positions in need for us. The value was amazing. Go ahead and check out episode 3 where we break down just how important those two pieces alone were. But really, this is more so about, and we actually talked about our whole offseason in the episode, but we talked about everybody else. We might as well talk about our team. Obviously the biggest addition is being Saquon Barkley. Some people seem to believe it's a mixed bag right now. Some people saying Saquon, huh?
You had started breaking up. You said obviously something.
Obviously, it's the consensus is split on Saquon. Half the people are saying that Saquon washed up. He never really had no great years in New York, not really considering like what all he had to put up with. And then you got, people who overreacting and saying that he was the missing piece to the Super Bowl. Obviously we never really get too high or too low on a player, so we kind of fit like right in the middle. I really don't think like he was a missing piece because I don't feel as though Swift lacked that much last year, and Swift ended up being even better than we even thought him to be. So obviously Saquon is a great addition, but I don't think that he alone makes us a Super Bowl contender. I feel like we had so many other things to address. Offense was pretty straight, but we still needed to get a coordinator that could tie it all together. Our main thing was just addressing the defensive side of the ball, because not only was it's some deficiencies, but we needed a safety. We needed linebackers. We needed to replace some of the D line depth. And we needed a coordinator to tie in that side of the ball. And I think we did all of the things on our list. Now, the elephant in the room, we did lose Jason Kelsey, which could end up being one of the greatest centers of all time. Definitely the greatest Eagle of all time from an offensive lineman standpoint, at least that we know of. We can only go back so far. That's a huge loss. Thankfully for us, he was allowed to pick a predecessor and kind of train them up, not only at practice and in preparation, but he was able to play right beside him. Yep. And I think that right there is like valuable. Like I don't know if you can get better on the job training than like actually seeing on the field how somebody handle their business. And then Fletcher Cox had a low key great year last year. Like, obviously with him being older, he had injuries here and there, but he played like last year was going to be his last year, but in a good way. Like, he gave us all he had. So, his presence, I think, will be missed more from a leadership standpoint than what he could give us on the field at this point. But still, he will be missed just from, the leadership standpoint. 2 OGs out of the building. So now, we really only got 2 left out of that nucleus, especially from the Super Bowl in 2017. So we have Kelsey, obviously, and BG. And BG has made it known that this is his last year. How you feeling about BG? Let's go back to his draft and work our way up to, leading up to his last year.
Man, BG. Man, of course when he first got drafted. Now, when he first got drafted, I'm not really knowing much about BG. And it wasn't until maybe the year before. So what? 2015. What year did BG get drafted?
I can't even tell you offhand, but it's been a minute. He been here about 12 seasons or more.
Yeah, it wasn't until
I'm trying to look that up.
It wasn't until the season that we actually went to the Super Bowl that or maybe that season. Yeah, it wasn't really until that season that we went to the Super Bowl that I really was watching BG like that. I really was like, okay, I like this dude. Now, this was way before he made the play because he was getting off that whole season. But
yeah,
his personality really showed. You could really see it all coming together for him on the field. I honestly think around that time, it was kind of like clicking for everybody. We started seeing Kelsey and all of them started coming into their own. Really, so from that last season going into that season, you kind of seen like them guys being the veterans that they became. And time flies, man. It's crazy to see. It's crazy that much time has passed and these guys on their way out the door since that. It seemed like it was like a couple.
2010 is when he got picked up. He was our first round draft pick in 2010, and here we are, 2024, talking about his last hoorah. So, that's a hell of a career.
It is, and so even like I would say even like last season, I'm kind of already thinking like, man, this probably BG last season. This probably Fletch last season. And you never really know with Kelsey, so I'm kind of like, this could be Kelsey last season. You never really know with Kelsey. But as far as BG goes, like I'm thinking him and Fletch both. When I seen Fletch come out and say he was retiring, I kind of knew that's what it was because I saw a few people saying I guess they was kind of going off his last season. They like, man, Fletch still got a lot left in the tank, man. No, he don't, because them injuries adding up. Like you said, he gave it all he had. Because one thing about fans is they see you have a season like that, they gonna welcome you back. But when you come back for that next season, they expecting to see that again.
The same
And,
dog.
yeah, you're not gonna see that again, especially on the player that old. So don't let that fool you. So it was time for Fletch to get on up out of there. Let the young guys have it. See, this is a time when I don't really mind letting the young guys have it. They didn't got to play behind the vet for a season or two. The vet kind of, got over that hill. We ain't gonna get that same production out of them, man. Let the young guys have it, man. Let the young guys have it.
And then Jalen Carter falling to us where he did, like that was just a perfect situation.
Yeah, perfect situation. Fletch got to coach him up for a year. He got to coach Jordan Davis up for 2 years. Jordan Davis actually got to be on that last Super Bowl run that we
the 2022 season.
22 season when we picked up Linval Joseph and we got to pick up Sue. So he got to be in the building and learn from them guys. I'm sure he probably still connected to him a little bit. So he probably could reach out to him if he wanted to. There's guys that he had in the building he was able to learn from. So I think that's in the grand scheme of things, I think that's going to help him out as well. He got Jaden Carter right there beside him, pushing him. Ain't nothing like your college teammate and one of your best friends right there pushing you to be the best that you can be. You don't want him you want him to do great, but you don't necessarily competitive wise, man, this dude, he ain't gonna be better than me. He can't do better than me, like in a competitive way, not in a bad way. You don't ever want to see your brother do bad, but you want to be right there with him. You don't want him to outdo you. So I think they're gonna help each other out with that. So that position, that the interior looking good for the future. Sweat is still here from both Super Bowls. He was a rookie that first Super Bowl season, right? So I think he was
still on the squad.
Yeah, I think that first Super Bowl, I think he might have been a rookie. I think that might have been Sweat rookie season. I ain't sure, but anyway, he looking like he could be on his way out the door from they might just release him or trade him. You never know.
Sweat's still pretty young. He only 27.
Yeah, Sweat. Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
He only got that one. He's still working off that first contract we gave him. Well, not the first.
Well,
contract,
I think he just got paid. He got paid. Well, he didn't just get paid, but he definitely got a second contract.
No, he got paid, but I ain't mean like first contract, but I mean like the first like big contract we gave him. But
so he showed up the year after.
The year after the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
2018.
His rookie season.
Barnett, that was Barnett's rookie season.
Yeah, that's what it was. Barnett rookie season sure was. Because he got he picked up the sack. I mean the fumble from Brady.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, it's about time for BG. I love BG, man. I love BG, but we all know it's about that time, man. It's sad to see him go, but hey, we know what it is, man. He just, when you start getting to a certain age, you can't be in them corners like he used to. Now I think he's a great locker room guy. I wish BG is somebody who just be in the locker room every year. Same thing with all them guys. Him and Kelsey, man, they go, whether they on the team or not, them guys you need in the building. Even the year after, you remember the year after we went to the Super Bowl with Foles and Wentz, BG had got hurt, and I think that really, I think that really kind of had hurt that season. I think BG was a big part of that season.
Oh yeah,
as well as a few other things, but I think he was also a big part of that season going the way that it went. Him not being in the building, him not being on the field. Man, he just a dog, and for him to come back the season after being injured and come back and get them sacks,
have his best season as an Eagle.
Yeah, so we'll see what he got left in the tank for this year, but it's definitely his last ride. He already said it. I wasn't really gonna be mad if he went ahead and retired. Like I said, it's about time to let the young guys get it, but I don't think I'm gonna be too mad with him coming back. We got Huff now holding it down over there. we'll have Sweat on the other side, man. BG will be getting rotated in, him, Nolan, and a couple of them other guys. So we'll see, man. We'll see what BG got left in the tank. I think he leave it all out there on the field, and maybe we can send him out of here with two of them things.
Man, that'll be nice. I do want to touch on the huge loss of Hassan Reddick, though, and what he meant to this organization in the short time that he was here. It just let's go back and this talk about what his loss meant. You know, I know you haven't mentioned on the show, but you had mentioned that he had became your favorite player, you know, when he was in the building, and just talk about that loss and what that means to the team.
Well, let me say for me, first off, because I don't really have too many. It's been a while since I grabbed a Eagles jersey. My first Eagles jersey was I think McNabb, and then I had a TO jersey after that. I might have had two TO jerseys. I either had two McNabb jerseys or two TO jerseys, but you know how long ago that was. I got both of those around the same time, so I haven't really got an Eagles jersey since TO was on the team. So, but now fast forward to now, we got Haas. I was like, oh man, I gotta get me a Haas jersey. And before I could get it, he gone.
Nah.
Man, out the door. So he did become my favorite player on the team. Now, I have a lot of players I really like on the team. Like Brandon Graham, he's probably like one of my favorite players on the team for a while. I can't say I was thinking about getting a Brandon Graham jersey, but it's something about when we got Haas, man. That dude, he bring the energy. Right, man, he was always, when we needed a play to be made, this man made it 2 seasons in a row. He was always right there. I love this celebration. I love all the defensive lineman celebration, but his is definitely one of my favorites. So it'll be sad not to see that celebration on the field this season. And for the team, what it means is, honestly, you know, you always want your team to do good. You want the best out of everybody, but I'm not saying that it isn't going to happen, but what I'm saying, for me personally, it's hard for me to see how we can replace a Hassan Reddick. You can't replace.
You don't replace him not with one player.
I don't think we can replace him with two. I don't know. I don't know. It's just like he a different type of animal. From my perspective, in my opinion, I think he was the best edge rusher in the league. I know a lot of people are gonna say Bosa or Watt or somebody. I just think Haas was underrated. I think he can do everything those guys was doing. He showed up in the playoffs. A lot of times you see those guys not doing much in the playoffs. Haas showed up in the playoffs consistently. Man, double-digit sacks consistently. Like I said, he always there making. He was close. He was our closer, man. There was a couple of things on that Super Bowl run season where, we played I think it was the Cardinals game. He saved us. I think it was the Cardinals game, but I know for a fact that Jacksonville game we played in the rain, he came up big. That Colts game, he saved us.
Obviously, 49ers.
Man, it's so many plays, so many moments.
In
this
2
guy,
years.
and it's crazy how NFL contracts work, because a lot of times you got a 3-year deal. Like, that's basically like a 2-year deal. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you outplaying and you out of there. So,
he definitely outperformed this contract. So I get it.
He outperformed the contract. As a fan, selfishly, I'm like, bro, just play. Just
come back.
I do understand.
From a money standpoint,
as a fan, it's like, bro, come on, we need you. Like, I don't see him play for nobody else. He definitely my favorite player. I'm gonna be watching him play for. I don't even like the Jets. If he ended up touching the field, because now they talking about holding out because he want to get that contract, which is understandable.
Yeah,
He could go and get hurt and then never end up getting that contract that he left. In that case, he probably
exactly.
stayed in Philly. If you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
so I understand that.
It's just that's just I just chalk that up to Howie being Howie and seeing having the foresight to see, hey,
hold out.
we can't give him what he want, so let's go ahead and get him out of here.
This is
Of
why.
course.
This is why I was mad about. This is why I ain't gonna say mad about, but this is the only pushback that I had about the Saquon signing, because I was like, man, just sign
Swift.
Get that bread, get a rest of that bread to Heisman. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. For real, like I was saying before, I wanted to save as much money on the offensive side as possible and put everything else towards the defense. So if that meant breaking off Haas or whatever, so be it. I did not want that man to leave the building dang near under any circumstance. But like I said, he did become my favorite player, and I think that's a guy that we really can't replace. Like you said, definitely not with one. I don't think we can replace him with two. He just was always Johnny on the spot, whether we needed a stop, a fumble, a turnover. Man, it seemed like he was just always coming up with it. Like I said, he was an underrated guy. I feel, in my opinion, he was the best edge rusher in the league the last 2 years. Now, a lot of people going to go straight off sacks. Man, this man made big-time plays. And
the clutch factor is can't be stated enough. Like you said, it's not necessarily the sack, but it's when the sack came.
When the sack came. With sack, fumble, tip ball. Man, he got this man playing in coverage. He tipping passes and all kind. Man, come on. But yeah, he definitely gonna be missed in the building. And I wanted my guy Nolan Smith to get another year with him in the building. I wanted Nolan to get another year with Haas in the building at least. Really, I wanted to pay Haas, and he was gonna be for the foreseeable future. But minimum, if we had to let him go, I wanted him to play that contract out, and Nolan can get another year with him. But if I had it my way, in the future, it'd have been him on one end and Nolan Smith on the other side. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we never know. We never know what can happen. Maybe something will happen, void the contract. We can still hold our hope. But
if he mess around and was able to come back to the Eagles on some CJ GJ stuff, we definitely welcoming you back. Come on back, baby. Come on. Come on, sugar.
I got beans and bologna.
Hey, while we talking about it, how you feel about CJ GJ coming back?
Oh man, you already know about that one. That's we needed that on the back end. Like, safety was one of our points that we had to address in the offseason, and boy, did we address it. CJ GJ was a huge part of our Super Bowl run in 22. Led the league in picks before he got hurt, and pretty much led the league like the whole season. I don't think he ended up like having the most picks in the year, but he had the title for a bulk of it. Love his attitude. That was one of the things we was missing from on defense last year. So he bring a lot to the building. We got him for a couple years, so I love that. Him and Reed can grow together and hopefully be that piece that we missing on the back end. I actually was watching an interview Slay had. I think it might have been with Long. So he was on Long podcast, and Chris Long. He was on Chris Long podcast, and he was saying like one of the things that made last year so difficult was having them young guys on the back end. And what I didn't know is, sometimes the cornerbacks, especially the one that's on the opposite sideline, they may not even know what the play is. So they kind of depending on that safety to kind of kind of tell them what's
Communicate.
what and communicate. And that was a key piece to that was one of the things we was missing on the back end, and why the back end kind of looked how it looked is just because it wasn't a whole lot of communication out there. We had young guys, and even when we didn't have young guys, we had a coordinator that didn't really know what he was doing. Plus, when we tried to patchwork and put brand new guys in there, of course they just going off of instinct, but they don't really know what's going on. So the back end wasn't in sync at all. Ultimately, the whole team wasn't in sync. But from a defensive side, he kind of shed some light on why we saw what we saw, at least a little bit of it. So CJ being back in the building, I'm pumped.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm hyped. I didn't want them to leave the first time.
Nope. Didn't want to leave.
I wanted them to get paid. I personally think we are at our best when we got a real good safety. If you look at most of the great seasons that we had, especially defensive wise, we always had a pretty good safety back there. Malcolm Jenkins was holding it down for a while. Brian Dawkins.
Even McLeod. McLeod was a solid safety for us.
McLeod was solid back there, man. I love McLeod back there. I thought he was almost coming back for a second.
But I'm not mad. I'm not mad at what we got in the building, man. Like we said on a previous episode, like what we have, I'm pretty confident in at least the talent that we got on the back end. So we'll see if we can tie it all together with Vic and make the back end and the front end work together. We pretty much touched on like our moves as a whole in a previous episode, so y'all go back and check that out. That's why we was able to kind of hone in on a few pieces that we lost and talk about some of our favorites that we gained, just because we went into detail on the Eagles. We just couldn't do an episode about the rest of the NFC East and not mention the Eagles. So that's what we took this time to do. We covered everybody. Now it's time for some grades. So go ahead and tell me what grade you giving the rest of the NFC East on the offseason so far.
I think I give we started off with Washington.
We can start off with Washington.
And I probably get them guys. I don't know if they could have did any better. I probably get them guys A. I probably get them guys a solid A.
I would agree with that.
I don't think I could. I don't think they could. I don't think they could really did too much better than what they did. I give them an A.
Okay, then we went to the Giants after that.
Giants, them dudes. Probably get them I'm somewhere between a C and a C minus for them dudes, man. They got Malik Neighbors. What are they doing? They let Saquon go. What we doing it for the draft or the offseason? What did you say?
Just the offseason in general.
Just the whole offseason in general? Yeah, I'll probably give them a C.
I can see that. I think, at the end of the day, they still just they handcuffed to Daniel Jones. So, knowing that they handcuffed to Daniel Jones, some of the moves that they made by letting Saquon go, not replacing Saquon once he was gone, and not doing enough to, one, protect Daniel Jones, and two, to give him, some weapons to have a chance, so we'll see what Neighbors does. He was a dog on the college level, but now he's, got some big shoes to fill. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But I agree with that grade of a C. And we got Dallas.
Let me see. They gonna let Dan Quinn go, hire Mike Zim. They didn't really do nothing in the whole free agency.
Whole offseason, really.
They let the whole free agency go by. Didn't really do nothing. They got Eric Kendricks. Draft. Now they did what they needed to do in the draft. I can respect that. Um, I get them dudes. Then they didn't pay. They didn't pay none of they got. They didn't pay CD. They didn't pay Dak. They didn't. I'm gonna get them dudes a D plus.
I'm gonna give him an F. I wish I had my boy Brew on here to give him the big F. I wish I had two more hands so I could give him 4 thumbs down. You know, obviously, you know, being a cowboy hater, it come
The
easy,
only reason
but
why I the only
huh?
reason why I gave him a D plus is because they did what they had to do in
The
the
draft,
draft. And
yeah,
it wasn't
I can
sexy,
see
but
that.
but other than that, I can see a F too. So, but the only reason why I gave them the D was because I feel like they at least the draft went sexy, but I feel like now I do feel like it was some Dallas players that was mad about a few of those picks. Now I'm not in Dallas, so I don't know every position of need or what they really was wanting over there. They didn't get a wide receiver, free agency, or the draft, so I can see them being mad about that. I think some of them dudes wanted a running back. But yeah, for the most part, I get them dudes. I give them a D plus.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the lack of movement. You know,
Yeah,
when Jerry come in and say all in, that kind of had me concerned a little bit because I thought they was gonna turn up, but to be in July and to see they did nothing in between then and July, I welcome that. But of
I
course,
really dudes was gonna get. I really thought they was gonna pick up Stephon Diggs, man. They had
yeah,
me
you
fooled.
did say that. You did say that. But they didn't even do that.
I said that in the middle of last season because they just kept talking about it, and I'm not even talking about like the media was talking about it. Like Stephon Diggs was kind of like talking about it, and he wasn't saying. I don't know. He was just making it. He was making it seem like he really wanted to go to Dallas. So I was like, he gonna try. And then another thing that made me think that it would happen was you talking about a player going from the AFC to the NFC. So I'm like, they definitely want to get him out of the AFC. So I could see him going to Dallas. So I really thought him and his brother was going to try to make that happen, but you can never overestimate. Uh, uh, what was his name? What's the owner name?
Jerry
Jerry Jones.
Jones.
Yeah, you can never overestimate.
Yeah, man.
Jerry.
I'm glad he didn't though, because I mean, Diggs is a dog. And Diggs with CD, that's dangerous. I had no doubt that they would have put up numbers in that offense. So I'm glad he in Texans and best of luck to the Texans.
Yeah, they're
Um,
gonna
but
maybe
last but not, huh?
I was gonna say maybe one of the future episodes we'll come over here and talk about the NFL. What's going on around the NFL?
Yeah, yeah.
As far
We
as
got plenty of time for that. But last but not least, we got them boys. Them boys in green. Philadelphia Eagles. Go ahead and you
I'm gonna
know
give up the
what
offseason.
yeah, what you
Man,
thinking about as a whole? What kind of grade does the Philadelphia Eagles deserve?
I'm gonna give us a A, and I say why I give us an A. Going into the draft, I wanted us to address cornerbacks. We do not get cornerbacks, defensive backs in the first round. So we not only did we do that, we got them in the second round. We doubled up. So it was exactly what I wanted. It was exactly what we needed. After that, like I said, for me personally, anything after that was pretty much like icing. Um, the offseason we picked up even going into last season, we got Isaiah Rodgers, which is looking like it could be something for the
A
foreseeable
steal.
future. Definitely a steal. Devin White, I think the Devin White pickup is flying under the radar. A lot
Oh
of
yeah, it's
people
definitely underrated.
that's gonna smack a lot of people in the mouth during the season. A lot of these people who either ignoring it or trying to downplay it, they're gonna have no choice but to no choice but to say they were wrong or try to avoid it during the season because he's gonna ball out. The Saquon pickup, man, it was so many great pickups. I think that we did, and it was everything that we needed. The hiring of the coordinators. Yeah, I had to give us for the whole offseason. I had to give us an A. The only reason why I don't give us an A plus is because of the Haas situation. Now,
That boy butt hurt.
yeah, I do understand. I do understand now that how he probably seen that he was going to hold out, but I'm still not giving us an A plus because you should have figured it out and paid the man. We didn't worry about if he was going to hold out or not because he had money in his pocket. But, hey, if we had been able to do everything we did, because doggone it's cake, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So we was able to get our cake and eat it too. I would have gave us an A plus, but we got some cake. We got some cake and we got some little. You know how you had a birthday cake and you had a cupcakes around it. We got one of them. We didn't even get to eat it because Haas got traded. But
man, we covered. I would agree with that. A solid A. Maybe even an A plus. If, like you said, if we was able to keep Haas, that's what kept it from being
an
A plus.
Oh man,
yeah, that would have been the icing on the cake. But I do got one more. So we gave a grade. But what's your favorite addition from each team in the NFC East? What would be your favorite? It doesn't even have to be a player, but what's your favorite move from each NFC East team this offseason?
all right, so my favorite moves on each team is going to also be my least favorite move. So I would say for Washington, favorite move for Washington. It's going to be between Jaden Daniels, and who else did they get?
They got a lot of people.
They got a lot of people, but the fact that they went ahead and got a quarterback, for me, I don't know, it's damn near a tie between Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn because I feel like they never have a good head coach and they never have a damn quarterback. So I would say for them, I would have to go with
one A and one B.
1A and 1B. But if I had to pick one, since he asked for one, I would say Dan Quinn.
Okay, Dan Quinn. So we got the
Giants. We saying player, I'm going Jaden Daniels. But Giants, I would say favorite move that they made. They got Malik Neighbors, right? Yeah, I'm going with Malik Neighbors. That's an easy one.
Elite dog. It's gonna be kind of hard for Dallas, but that's where we at with it.
Let me see. What the hell did they do?
I mean, the biggest thing of note is Kendricks. I mean, obviously, it was a position to need. But
my first thing that Dallas did
was nothing.
Is that they do shit.
I'd take that.
And I get an A plus, guy.
All right, so that leaves the best for last. What was your favorite move for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Favorite move that we did. Damn. Since we was already solid on offense, I'm not gonna say Saquon. So
yeah, I wouldn't have said Saquon neither.
Oh man, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because this was going through my head right now. This is a tough one because I'm huge on linebackers, so I think we can't see it now, but I think that Devin White, that pickup I think that's gonna be crazy. I also think bringing CJ GJ back on that back end I think that's going to be crazy. But I do also think that more than anything, hiring veteran coordinators is probably the biggest thing that we needed to do. So I'm gonna go with hiring them veteran coordinators as my favorite thing we did in the offseason. But if I had to go play my favorite player that we picked up, or favorite like player move that we made, I'm gonna go with let me make sure I'm not forgetting nobody. I think I'm gonna go Devin White.
Yeah, that would have been mine. But since you said Devin White, I'm gonna go ahead and say CJ, because we needed both just as bad. So yeah, I agree. Man, we covered everything that we needed to as far as the off season. You got anything more to add to off season moves in the NFC East?
Nah, man. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good season. It's gonna be interesting. I know we'll get into this as the season go on with like our predictions of who'll be in first place and all that. So, really, what I'm saying is it's gonna be interesting to see how the season pans out, who ends up where. I don't really have anything about anything to add to what we probably haven't covered already.
Man, it's been another dope episode of the Down South Philly show. Again, I'm your host DP, and we had Dom in the building as the other co-host. And
Y'all make sure y'all check us out on social media, Instagram, Down South Philly. What was it? Down South Philly.
Down South Philly on all platforms.
Yeah, Down South Philly on all platforms. So
go ahead and tune in. We turning up. We getting in our groove with this thing. This episode number 4.
And if you I don't know where you watching this particular clip at, but it's Down South Philly on all platforms except YouTube is gonna say Down South Philly Show.
That's a good point, and we might be able to change that. But yeah, as for now, Down South Philly Show. Shoot, man. What do we already know what we gonna go the next episode?
Next episode, we haven't really quite talked about it, but I'm thinking we might probably talk about a little bit about what's going on around the NFL.
Okay. Well, there you have it. We're going to go ahead and discuss a little bit about the rest of the NFL. Again, make sure you tap in to Down South Philly on all platforms. This has been another dope episode, and we signing out.
Peace.